What if you wanted to make Osgiliath style ruins but didn't want to buy them? Well, you can make them yourself using high density foam and a few other bits and pieces that you've probably got laying around. That's what I did. I only had... You can cut this foam really easily with a sharp knife or a hot wire cutter. Now from here I then just designed some walls, just looking at the Osgiliath ruins that Games Workshop created and just drawing out some designs. I made them 6 inches wide because I'm putting them on a 6-inch by 8-inch board, and just drew out some kind of random ruin shapes and then kind of cut through just like I'm showing you here, and this is what it ended up looking like.
So having drawn the around this is the design that I'm going to be putting on it. So these are going to be windows, so these will be cut out. So this is the door, obviously that's going to be cut out. And these bits here are going to be things we stick on the outside, as is this along here and this here. But you can put as much or as little detail into this as you want. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this piece in detail, and then you can decide how you want to do your own ones. Really smooth side doesn't take paint very well. So before I have any bits that might snap off, I'm just going to rub this on some sandpaper. Normally I would just draw my design straight onto here, but that's because I've done it quite a lot. So what I wanted to do was to show you that that is the design I've got. If you score, or you go through these lines and just put a bit of pressure on, see that that line will come through on the other side. So you can see all the indentation there, that is what is going to be cut out. A knife, that's absolutely fine. Or if you have a hot wire cutter, then you can use one of the tools for that. It can be nice just to try and do this more slowly and just kind of build up how deep you're going, rather than, that's the difference I want to show you there. So that's just me trying to get through it in one cut, and it kind of tears it a bit, which is fine because it's gone on the inside. And this is me going slowly backwards and forwards just a little bit deeper each time. So there we have it with the things cut out. If they're not 100% neat, it doesn't matter, as these are ruins and they can also be neatened up along the way. What I mean by add our detail is add the kind of brick formation that would make up a Osgiliath type ruin. So I'm going to say that all the blocks are 1 centimetre high. All we're going to do is just use a biro and just draw the line. That's all the horizontal lines done. I've done it on both sides. I've done it on the edges and the inside of the windows. I mean, it takes a little while, but it's worth doing. I mean, that probably took, well, it's less than 5 minutes, so it's not that long. And now we're going to do vertical lines. So I just decide where a brick would be. This is half a brick here. And then every other one, I will put a line like that, move across. So let's say that's a block. And then we want to try and make all the blocks about the same size. And I tend to do this by eye. So there, skip a line there. And I don't think this is rocket science. It's just what brickwork looks like. It's nice if the blocks all kind of meet up. So if you now do underneath at the bottom, which is obviously not going to get seen, but that'll give you the markings for doing the blocks in exactly the same place, but on the other side. So this is the first piece with the brickwork done. Now I want to be clear on this, it's not about putting biro onto it, it's about doing the indentations. You can use anything you like. I like to use a biro rather than a knife, and because a knife creates too thin a slit, whereas a biro creates a little bit of gap where some paint can get into, but you can dry brush to bring up the detail. So that is, so we have our 4 wall pieces that are going to make up the ruins with all of the detail of the brickwork done. Now we're going to paint our ruins. This is just cheap white paint, and this is just going to base it all. I'm using a makeup brush for fairly quick coverage, getting into all of the detail, just as a kind of a base coat. And here we have our walls. That's been coated twice in white. So now concentrating on this floor piece. I've cut this to be half width because I feel like that makes more sense. And I'm going to add a bit more detail than I perhaps have done in previous things, because I think I just want to. To start with, I'm just going to score, this is going to be like a tiled floor. It's literally as simple as that. Add some realism, because this is going to be stuck into the wall like that. And rather than just be hanging there, if I just glued it, which it could, I want to look a bit more realistic. Squeeze, snap, but I feel like that's too wide for a rafter. I might cut these longer ones, and then these are just going to be stuck to the bottom there. this. That's that done. Confession time. I've not done the other side because this is the side that's going to be shown. Next up, we're going to paint this. So that's that done. So this is going to be our ruined floor. Probably do some more colour correction once it's in place. And we're just going to use the glue gun. I'm going to get on with that. So now on to adding more detail. So what I've done here is I've drawn a little template here, and then you can cut it into a shape just like that. That's all I've done here. And what's even better about this is this foam is so easy to cut. Once you've done that, you can simply just take a little bit of care and very quickly make more and more of these to add. So then it goes on to adding detail onto these. So exactly the same thing that I've done on these, but instead of them being bigger bricks, they're going to be smaller bricks. That's exactly the same thing, just with the biro. Basically, I'm just going to cut strips of this, put some brick detail in, and that is going to make up, going to be the bits across the top of there. So all these extra detail bits have been made, and just going to paint them white. Onto our base, we're going to use some 2mm MDF. I've got a whole pack of these, which I've used for a number of my different builds. Link in the description to buy these, and I'm just going to very quickly paint this completely black. Going to add even more detail now, but to the flooring this time inside. Squares. And all these tile bits we're going to paint light grey. I'm going to glue our walls to our base. So we're going to start with this one, and it's going to go square up against the edge of this. So that's the 4 walls done. And you know, that's a perfectly reasonable bit of scatter scene. So next up, we're going to be putting the floor. Now we have that bit of floor in place as well, and you know, you could just chuck some flock down on that and that would be absolutely fine, but we're going to go a stage further than that with this. So I played around with these tiles to get an orientation and a setup that I like in here. I'm going to try something a bit new, and all I'm going to do now is just smother the inside of this with PVA. On the bottom, the reason I'm using PVA rather than the glue gun in this instance is I want to be able to move these tiles around once I've placed them, whereas the glue gun, it sets pretty quickly. All different sizes, I want to play around the gaps between them. If you're going to actually make this, I would recommend that you do this flooring section before you put this top floor on. I am making this space here, and the plan is that we're going to use some silicone rubber, and we're actually going to make a puddle in that spot there, another down in this space here. It's Osgiliath, it's supposed to be kind of flooded, so there's going to be rubble going on top of this as well once this has been set into place. So final adjustments, so puddle here, puddle there, so we're now going to dry brush these tiles to bring out some detail. Just trying to catch the edges of things. So I'm going to do this across the whole thing. Begin to see on the edges in particular, it starts just giving it a little bit more definition. Particularly, you can see that they start looking a bit more like they're worn and stuff just by having that kind of those edge highlights through the dry brushing in. Okay, next we're going to add some of this, which is kind of broken up bits of plaster. You can make it with like polyfiller, powder or whatever. So I'm just going to take glue and I'm going to put it down into these gaps. I'm also going to put it along the walls, wherever I feel like some of this kind of rubbly stuff might have fallen. So I put this PVA down in all the different places where I feel like there might have been some. All I'm going to do is basically just tip this in, and once it's in, I'm going to kind of shake it all around. Already, that just looks like the right kind of rubble, doesn't it? There we have it. That's kind of what I was hoping for. It looks great. You join me now for an experiment. This is a cartridge gun with clear silicone in it, which I've used for my modular river tile video. Really looks awesome for flowing water. And now I'm going to try it for puddles. I'm just going to use a little bit of cardboard just to move it around into where I think it should be. This stuff is really, really sticky, so you don't want to be putting your fingers on it if you can possibly avoid it. At the moment, I think it's looking okay. I'm just dabbing at it, trying to move it around to where I want it to be. It doesn't have to be static. It would be nice if it was flatter. This one here, which has gone instantly very well. Looking like it's my attempt at some puddles. So now we're going to just dirty this up and make it look a bit more realistic. So I'm going to start with some Nuln oil, which I'm going to put across this floor here. So you can see places like here and here, along here. I'll just use some watered down Agrax Earthshade and just dabbed it into places. See, more towards the back there. Just to create a bit of dirtiness to it. I mean, these are little details. You can just not do this at all and it still looks good enough, as we like to say on this channel. See there? It's not dry yet, but you can see it just kind of dirtying up so it looks a bit more realistic. So I'm going to do a similar thing with the Aphonian Camo Shade, which is kind of green, so there's going to be much more of a kind of a mouldy, lots of water kind of look. So basically what I'm going to do with this, every single window. See how the first one goes. You never know exactly how these things are going to turn out. I think just a little bit of colour actually. A lot of sunlight today. But I think that green just kind of makes it look gross, which is good, I reckon. Okay, I've added some brown. That's Agrax Earthshade all along the bottom. And then I've added the Aphonian Camo Shade on all of the windows. That's just drying off. And I just added in a few more places just to kind of dirty it up and hopefully make it look a bit more realistic. Probably gonna do a little bit more, but that's the basic situation with it now. Over here at the dirty bit of cardboard, and what we're going to do is just finish this off by putting a PVA water mix over all of this plaster, or fallen rubble, or whatever you want to call it, just to kind of get it more sealed in place so this doesn't fall everywhere. So back when that's done and the whole thing will be finished.
So that's how I made Osgiliath style ruins using some foam and some other bits and pieces. If you've enjoyed this, then please click the like button, consider subscribing. And if you've got any comments, good or constructive, then please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll look forward to showing you my next build soon. Thanks for watching Good Enough Scenery.